Writing for this record began without any real intent. What began as me trying to connect again with something I used to love just kind of snowballed into having a few songs more or less fully written.
Whenever I have an idea, any lyrical idea, whether I'm currently writing a song or not, I open my notepad on my phone and just drop some ideas down if I think of a lyric. So there are other times where like maybe I don't have a lyric and I come to a song without any ideas, and usually I'll just try to vibe with the song, and usually I'll come up with like a vocal pattern and a vocal melody before I come up with the lyrics, because that's just the first thing that I hear in my head is I'll listen to the song and I'll hear like, oh, this part could go rah, 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 or whatever, and then I'll ask myself like, how does this song make me feel, and then I'll try to write based off some personal experience or whatever, and one of the tricky parts, but also fun parts, well, or sometimes not so fun parts, is trying to make taking your idea, your vocal cadence idea that you heard in your head, and then fitting lyrics to that idea. That can be tricky, but it's fun, and I think it's a cool problem solving type of thing. And sometimes you have to change words around just to make it so that your idea has the exact same rhythm cadence you hear in your head. Because I feel like, at least I know for me, that I memorize, when I listen to bands, I memorize the vocal pattern, the vocal melody before I memorize the lyrics. And then I'll memorize the lyrics always comes later. So that's why I always think like, okay, vocal patterns, vocal melodies are almost like more important. But they're also not, because lyrics are very important too. You can't write shitty lyrics. So, and then it's just a matter of fitting them to what you hear. And then, there's been, on some of our songs, some of the other band members have come in and gave their input, which has been nice.
Your shit sucks.
We all get writer's block sometimes, and it's nice to bounce ideas off of other people.
For this EP, I knew I wanted big choruses and epic cinema-inspired parts that you'd expect someone like Howard Shore to write. And I wanted to weave that into a progressive metalcore sound. As a guitarist first, the songs on this record are definitely riff-driven. That's normally how a song starts for me, with a riff that I think sounds cool. Then I experiment writing other parts and just kind of record everything as I go. Eventually I end up with the basic skeleton of a song with intros, verses, choruses, bridges, interludes, things like that. Once the basic arrangement's determined, that's when I start layering in other sounds and instruments to create that cinematic sound, whether that's strings, brass, synth, keys, whatever. I'll wait until I'm happy with the song, just overall, before I share it with the other guys, and then we'll refine it to the point where everyone's happy. As time has gone on and we've gotten more comfortable writing together, it's been a much more collaborative process, with each guy providing ideas that I'll take and shape into something that flows and sounds like an Oathbound song. For example, the song Anxiety, the intro to that song was a take on a riff that Callian sent me after we'd been jamming for a few weeks. And the chorus for that song is actually note for note another riff that Callian came up with. That became the framework for the finished song on the EP. It's been awesome to see everyone really embrace the idea of contributing. It's not just one guy calling the shots, it's been very collaborative, and we're at the point now where we're comfortable telling each other if their idea misses the mark, and really leaning in and being supportive when someone has an awesome idea. We really try to make sure that egos aren't involved in our decisions, and then it's all about what sounds the best and what's the best for the band and so on. And I think everyone's really on board with that.
There's a couple different ways I could go about it. I mean, sometimes I'll just be playing a guitar. Yeah, I know, a bass player playing a guitar, go figure. I'll come up with some riffs on that because I like to base my bass lines off of like what the guitars do. So I'll come up with like a riff on guitar and just kind of toss it into Logic and fuck around with it and find a bass line I like for it, and show it to the rest of the dudes and be like, hey, here's some stupid stuff I came up with. Do you like it? And sometimes they do, and sometimes as well I might even start with drums. Like I'll just fuck around with some software drums, get a beat that sounds cool, and just find out what fits. It's actually kind of how I write most of my breakdowns. Is I just come up with a cool kick pattern, and then everything else centers around that. So a couple different methods. I rarely ever start with the bass line unless it's like a lead section for like a bass playing like some solo shit or like some Tool riffs or something. Most of the times I actually write most of my stuff on guitar.
My inspiration themes would be more of like emotions or vibes, and not something directly related with words or topics, but it could be anything. It could be just a fun, exciting mood, and I would try to write something more thrashy, a little more fast metal. Sometimes I'd feel a little different. I'll come up with a slower melody. So it is a very mood dependent activity for me. It usually starts in a single massive project that takes forever to open at this point. I have hundreds of tracks, and I'll just find an empty spot, mute everything except one track, and I'll record one idea that I have. And after that, if it goes anywhere, I'd maybe try to put in some more tracks, and then we usually share the ideas that we have, and after that, the brain of the band puts it together into a song. So yeah.
I actually don't like to sit in front of my drums when I write my drum parts, because I found that when I do that, I just write the same thing over and over again based on like what I'm used to feeling. So I like sitting in front of my computer and thinking of stuff in my head and then writing it out in MuseScore. Sometimes I can actually play it and sometimes I can't, but I feel like I'm a lot more creative when I do that.
The songs were done before I really started actively participating for the most part.
Make you a map.
I mean, they already had the structure. They were pretty settled. On the album, there are a few more riffs that I had some participation. That's further down the road. With the EP, I quite like. I quite like what I've done. Those were just small ideas. Maybe throw in a harmony here. Maybe play that section just a little bit different here. So just tiny bit of spicing up here and there.
I just like to write about stuff like personal experiences or stuff that I see happening in the world. Typically, I feel like that's the only thing I can really write about, and a lot of my favorite singers usually write about that sort of stuff more so on the personal experience side. I want to be able to write lyrics that other people can relate to, and maybe someday it'll save them. Who knows?